Hello, everyone, and very warm welcome to the last day of the training camp, but the first session of this day. Today, we are going to talk about onboarding of DIHs in i4Trust community and the role of DIHs. Basically, they play a vital role in the i4Trust community. And later in the afternoon, we also have um, uh, the session to close on data value creation, IAM components, and a full explanation of how a data space would look like with an example. Um, so let Today with me, of course, I will be presenting. I'm Rajiv Rajani, CTO of iShare Foundation, and together with me is my colleague Juanjo Hero. He's also CTO from Fiverr Foundation, um, and we are going to present this session together. So let me begin. Um, Yeah, so let's start with the important element of i4Trust, that is the DIHs. But how do we see DIHs, and what is the journey of DIH and i4Trust in general? And then we go in more details about specifics in i4Trust community. But before I show you the journey of DIH, just a reminder, if you have not attended the intro session, what is i4Trust is basically, it's a community. It's not just a platform or a project. It is more than just a technology. Of course, the technical building blocks, and the training and support is provided by Fiverr and iShare, who are the two core members of i4Trust community. Together with Funding Box, who is hosting the community platform and responsible for community management. Together, the three partners form the core i4Trust partners, and we are together responsible for making this a vibrant community, where we will, with the support of the digital innovation hubs, want to create 32 experiments, or support at least 32 experiments, targeting more than 150 SMEs, or slightly bigger companies, who want to share data and break data silos and come up with new innovative business value chains. And we support them in doing so by providing a very mature template of for creation of data spaces, that is called i4Trust. So as I mentioned, the role of the edge is very vital for us, and we seek your support in achieving our goals. So let's see how your journey looks like. Basically, we start from discovery phase. So we constantly disseminate information about i4Trust to engage with the edges across EU, and explain them about what is i4Trust, and that is what we call as discovery phase, where we try to generate your interest in terms of how the edges can use i4Trust building blocks to support the SMEs that they are that they want to do as part of the being digital innovation hub. Of course, once you have enough interest, you want to join, and I guess you are already in that phase right now because you are attending this training, and you want to be part of this i4Trust community. So that is basically where we are. Learn is basically like with these training sessions and a lot of materials that we provide via various channels, um, all of which you can also find from our website, by the way. We use training as well as training materials, tutorials, and open source components made available via our different channels for you to learn about i4Trust in more details. Once you have learned, and as you will see later on as well, for DIHs, we also have a certification for i4Trust. So if you are already certified, that you can very well disseminate what is i4Trust in your ecosystem or in your community of SMEs. And together with them, you can come up with a proposal and apply under the open call. but we expect you as a DIH to learn about i4Trust and bring this closer to your ecosystem. And then, of course, participate after generating enough interest from SMEs. You co-participate together with SMEs in the open calls. So you become part of the proposal or the consortium who is submitting the proposal. And support, of course, we also expect that you throughout their journey of implementation of SMEs, you will support them with your knowledge on i4Trust, and you contribute back the learnings to us, so we can incorporate that into our building blocks, which is necessary. And of course, we expect that you will sustain this model, um, because with i4Trust, you are able to create data spaces, and you join the front runners in creation of data spaces in Europe. And of course, we expect that this i4Trust community continues to run even beyond the scope of this project. Okay. Well, so this is in summary what we expect, as well. Basically, why we say the DIHs are vital is because on one hand, of course, you are very well connected in your own ecosystem of SMEs, and you know their challenges because they approach to you or with the challenges that they face in their businesses, and seek solutions from you. Um, uh, with Armed with i4Trust knowledge, you would be able to see how i4Trust could fit as a solution for these SMEs, and potentially bring them in as via proposal or in the community, so that they can be helped with it. You act as our local extension in your region or in your area of operation. Basically, you are our local expert in that region. Of course, you learn via these training sessions, but you also keep on learning with going through the materials, also learning by doing as well, and as well as keeping in touch with us. Um, you provide or you've become part of multi-tier support system, which will be explained in a bit. So this explains the role of DIH, but of course, how do we see that happening? So we expect that you appoint an ambassador, a person who plays the role of ambassador, who is ambassador is basically nothing but more business oriented person who can talk to business people of SMEs, understand their requirements, and at the same time see how i4Trust as a solution could fit into that. You choose the right businesses and bring them in this journey of i4Trust, uh, based on the requirements that they have in order to fulfill, versus what i4Trust brings as a value to them, right? And of course, you act as you promote actively in the community about i4Trust in within your DIH. Additionally, of course, what we expect is that you also appoint a person who becomes a certified local expert on data spaces, which is a certification that you can go through after going through this training and learning about i4Trust. But we expect that as in order to make your life easier a bit, the person should have basically these skills that are listed on the screen. It makes it much more easier if person comes with these skills already, so that there is not a steep learning curve. Of course, a person without the skills can also come, but then be aware that there will be a bit of learning curve for that person, because we heavily rely on these technologies. um, this lab is a certified role, and we expect that this lab also takes part in the consortium, which is selected as a proposal in the open call, and actively guides the project, and act as our local expert in that region or in that consortium, and liaise with us, our experts from i4Trust core partners, for the implementation of successful implementation of i4Trust in the SME consortium that is applied for it. Important to know that once you are a DIH who also has a certified lab, we also list you as certified lab in our website. So it's also good for your visibility via that mechanism. Um, this is a summary of the role again of ambassadors and labs together. We expect what we see is, as for community of i4Trust, you act as the edge contact points basically. So anyone in the community, including all the SMEs, the slightly bigger companies or even larger organizations who join this community, they could have questions. Which could mean that they could be solved by i4Trust building blocks, and you are basically the taking those questions, understanding those questions, and responding them. Of course, we will be there to support and answer all the queries that you may have or the other SMEs may have. But this is also your opportunity to network with a lot of organizations and support them uh, in breaking the data silos and creation of data spaces. You work hand on hand with those SMEs. You learn by doing practice. Of course, once you are certified and you are well trained, you already probably know a lot of things. And that knowledge that you can use to help SMEs to quickly get started in this journey. Provide them technical support and other kinds of support that you will see via the multi-tier support program. And this is a brief summary of how we see multi-tier support system in i4Trust. The tier 0 is basically self-help, where anyone can use all the materials that is available via different channels of i4Trust to understand or get answers to their question. When they are not answered within the materials that are published, then they send a request of that question, and that is handled by tier 1. um, uh, and when tier 1 cannot answer it, it goes to tier 2, and when tier 2 cannot answer it, it goes to tier 3. But we'll see more details about this and how we expect this to operate in the next part of this presentation. And with this, I hand over to my colleague Juan. I will stop sharing my screen.
Okay, thank you, Rajiv. Um, so let me share the screen. Right. Um, I think you should be seeing my screen now. Let me put this in presenter view. No, so yeah. Do you see this now in full screen? The slide?
Well, we still see your browser, but it's full screen otherwise.
Uh-huh. Okay. So, well, welcome again to those who are attending. As Rajiv has mentioned, I'm Juanjo Hierro, CTO of the Fagua Foundation. Fagua Foundation and iShare, as Rajiv has mentioned, are the core partners in the i4Trust program that are bringing building blocks, which are facilitating the creation of data spaces. Rajiv already introduced the two important roles that digital innovation hubs that are invited to be part of the i4Trust community will be required to bring in place. Those were the ambassadors and the labs. And now I'm going to introduce to you the i4Trust Ambassador Program. That is a program that is targeted to ambassadors. But one important thing to comment is that It is a bit on a voluntary basis, so any DIH that is involved in the i4Trust community should appoint an i4Trust ambassador, but they don't necessarily need to join this ambassador program, even though we rather believe is something that will bring a lot of advantages, will bring a lot of visibility for those DIHs that join. Being part of this program will mean working hand by hand with the core partners of the i4Trust program, namely iShare Foundation, Firewall Foundation, and Sandbox, and essentially promoting i4Trust, engaging new members in the community. They will work also together with us in something that is going to be essential regarding the open calls that are in place, which is the scouting of experiments. And in that regards, we are going to help them in finding and identifying in their local areas or even beyond their areas of influence what could be the SMEs that working together may set up the consortium for rather promising experiments that may get funded through the open call. Um, they will also have a higher visibility through the i4Trust website, in particular, if in all what respect to promoting particular challenges they might be interested in promoting. And in that sense, we will be able to provide them some interesting resources. Um, we require those ambassadors and corresponding DIHs that join the ambassador program to um, sign a letter of engagement. I will elaborate on that a bit. And in that, when signing this letter of engagement, there will be a number of let's say, commitments made by the ambassadors in terms of posting information about i4Trust on social media, creating blog posts, references on i4Trust, and we expect to then also to work with our support in the creation of local events. Meetings or webinars targeted to their local ecosystems where we can promote i4Trust and in particular the second open call that is currently in place. It's intended to be a win-win cooperation model. We are going to bring to you in that regards. First of all, we will equip you with a um, comprehensive communication kit that you will be able to use when promoting i4Trust in your local networks. We will give you visibility as ambassadors in the different i4Trust channels. There will be there is already a dedicated page for ambassadors within the i4Trust website, but we will also allow you to use the i4Trust logo and provide you the ability and the necessary links to materials you can reuse. We will give you exclusivity in some community activities that we will put in place. And last but not least, there is certain funding available. We already consume part of it. This was initially planned to be 30,000 euros, which more or less were split into two among the 2 years where this ambassador program is expected to be running. This funding that we are happy to analyze proposals coming from DIHs that are part of the ambassador program to see how we can support not only from technical and also providing materials, but why not trying to bring some financial support, even though, well, it would be a bit limited to these amounts you see in the screen. Ambassadors that are part of the DIH working group, the i4Trust community, and decide to join the i4Trust ambassador programs will be required to sign a letter of engagement. That letter of engagement is available on the website, and you will be able to check a bit the conditions. It provides a detailed summary of what are the kind of actions and activities we expect ambassadors joining this program to perform. And well, we will be, of course, monitor participation in the program. We will be running periodic meeting calls with you so that we can learn what might be your obstacles, what are barriers, what are the issues you are facing when promoting i4Trust or trying to engage with the local SMEs, and that will be something very valuable feedback on one side, but also something on which we will be able to work together how to overcome those limitations and barriers. So that is what regards to the i4Trust and Ambassador program, which is one of the kind of activities that, in particular, ambassadors that will be identified by DIH that are joining the community might be involved in. A second kind of activities is that of bringing support to those SMEs or slightly bigger companies that might be joining the i4Trust community, willing to learn how to use the technology, to how to design their experiments and work towards creating data spaces using i4Trust building blocks. For this, we have defined a multi-tier support. The core partners of i4Trust alone are not able to, let's say, scale in the needs of support if we want to really grow this community and make it really big in Europe. So therefore, what we did was we designed a multi-tier support, and that would involve the IH as part of the actors bringing the support. Of course, the core partners of i4Trust will be, end of the day, also supporting the whole system. And this is what I'm going to explain to you. Well, why multi-tier support? And as probably you would agree, adequate support is essential to create a vibrant community and make sure that all those that join and consider joining the community get finally converted, really adopt the technology, and finally become advocates. And therefore, such support should be provided in a timely manner and good, bringing always a good response time and covering both support from on technical aspects and but also non-technical aspects. So when we talk about technical support, of course, questions such as how an organization make join an existing data space that has been built using i4Trust building blocks, or how organizations may join forces together for creating i4Trust data spaces. And the kind of questions for non-technical support might be more related to business, like trying to understand how to create new value out of sharing data, or how to use um, uh, specific the i4Trust building blocks to really um, improve existing processes involving different organizations. So more kind of business oriented aspects. Um, this support is expected to target, first of all, of course, SMEs, uh, um, slightly bigger companies that are the ones willing to use the technology. Uh, but also there might be other digital innovation hubs that approach for the first time the i4Trust community and may have their own questions even about how to join the community, and what could be the role they have. But overall, understanding what i4Trust data spaces means, and how these may create value for SMEs in their local communities. So all in one, the point is um, we intend to set up multi-tier support to bring the necessary support in all these from all these angles, and we invite DIHs to participate in such support. And indeed, what we believe is that they will ending up playing an essential role in providing that support and make it scalable. How is that multi-tier support? A very high level overview is not rocket science. Is the concept of multi-tier support and in with regards to any technology or any community. This is structured in essentially four levels, four tiers. The tier zero is essentially something that relies on existing documentation, contents on the websites, and their own community spaces of i4Trust, allowing users that are approaching i4Trust for the first time to self-educate themselves and be able to answer themselves the questions that they may have. So, tier zero, in that sense, is something that mostly rely on the shoulders of iShare and Firewall Foundation, making sure that necessary materials and documentation are available for performing this self resolution of questions that may exist. But existing documentation may not be bringing the answer to all questions, or in a first approach, a given user may not be able to identify or yeah, locate those questions, and that is the point at which the um, a process where we will facilitate users the ability to formulate questions using a helpdesk channel will be feasible, and those questions formulated through that helpdesk channel will be progressing to the different tiers, which I will be explaining next. and DIHs involved in the first and second tier. Tires zero, I already explained. As mentioned, there will be different sources, resources for helping everyone who approach the i4Trust community to get a first answer to their questions. But well, if they don't find an answer, they will be able to create a question in the i4Trust official help desk. This is something you will find out when you join the i4Trust community and space, and therefore um, any SME that wish to formulate such kind of questions and what first thing to do is particularly registering the i4Trust community, and you will find among the existing spaces one space that is named as i4Trust Helpdesk. Don't get confused with the open call Helpdesk. That is a Helpdesk very much focused on questions around the open call. Um, the i4Trust Helpdesk is a space where you will find existing questions that have been formulated before. And so obviously one of the things we will be asking any SME or DIs that wish to formulate a question would be to first check whether the question they have may have been formulated before and therefore may have been already answered. But if not, they will be able to formulate that. They will click this button, new, and will be able to choose among the different options of type of questions they can formulate. This will pop up, we bring you into a window that provides you a form to formulate the question. And well, once you get that question formulated, it will have two effects. On one side, the question itself will be now listed in the i4Trust helpdesk, so other people will be able to see that that question has been formulated, and therefore they may also monitor how that get answered. But the important thing is that at the same time this question is created in the help desk space, community space, a ticket will be created in the Jira system within the i4Trust community. We have decided to set up a Jira system, which is a very popular travel ticketing system. And whenever messages are posted in the help desk community space, as I was explaining before, a ticket will be created in Jira. Um, there will be the ability to create tickets ourselves. DIHs that will join the i4Trust community will be given user accounts in this system Jira that we have created. With that, they will also become visible, and we will explain they are DIHs that are certified to give that support. One thing um, uh, that we may have mentioned when we introduced to you the role of LEDs is that these are technical experts that will go through a certification exam. So they will get certified as i4Trust experts, and those i4Trust LEDs or DIHs having i4Trust LEDs will become visible as DIHs able to provide the necessary technical support, and as such, they will be advertised. And coming back to the how the Jira system will work is will be pretty simple. The IHS will um, uh, have accounts in these Jira systems, and whenever again a question is formulated in the help desk, a ticket in Jira will be created. It will be automatically created with the description that was given, the title that was given in the when the in the, using the form that users will have in place to formulate the questions. There will be even a link to the question issued on the help desk, and well, following best practices of these travel ticketing systems. Those tickets will be assigned to concrete organizations and individuals, and which will be asked to deal with the ticket, and we will explain now in the following slides how that would mean progressing through the different tiers of in which the multi-tiered support is organized. Um, Whenever given partial response is given to an existing ticket, that will be shown up as comments and as response into the help desk. The workflow is pretty simple. Tickets will be either pending or in progress, when meaning that there is an organization that has decided to take care of it, and once they get completed, they move into done state. The goal is why we are using a Jira ticket system. Well, mostly because everything that you don't monitor, you cannot improve. We are very much engaged in making sure that the i4Trust multi-tier support really helps, will really help to solve the questions in a timely manner. And well, if you make use of a Jira ticket, then we will be able to produce statistics and be able to somehow follow up more closely and carefully the progress of tickets. And now a little bit how this evolution through the multiple tiers will work. As if you remember, how we initiate the process is when a given SME or DIH wants to make a question, they don't find it because they didn't find a response to that. Looking at the general documentation, they will create a ticket, and this will essentially be available for resolution at the first tier. And this tier is expected to be handled in a collaborative manner. So all the DIHs in the community will have visibility about the tickets that are created, and any DIH in that sense will be able to self-assign a given ticket, letting the other DIHs that are participating in this tier, letting them know that they are taking care of providing a response to the given organization. We have to see that in that sense, participating in the multi-tier support, and particularly tier one, is first opportunity that DIHs will have to get in connection to SMEs that might be interested in using the technology, and well, that could be the basis for creating an interesting connection, and that, among other things, may allow you to work towards, for instance, preparation of a proposal to the coming open call. If a given request does not get self-assigned until a certain time, well, no problem. i4Trust core partners particularly Firewall Foundation and Nightshare Foundation, will self-assign it, and um, um, even we intend that SMEs that do not get satisfied with the answer will be able to signal it, and so that the experts from the i4Trust core partners can answer. Sometimes it may well be the case that at the age wish to organize the work so that they have people at tier one that is essentially solving questions uh, following a bit a script on where you know the agents taking care do not need to have a rather depth knowledge on i4Trust to be able to give a first response to questions. But there might be questions that are rather or enough complex and may require the involvement of the labs and ambassadors that the DIHs have identified. This is what is expected to happen in this tier two. In that regards, tickets that a given DIH has self-assigned may, at this point, be assigned to either the labs or the ambassador they have appointed for participating in the i4Trust community. Again, there might be a point during the conversation because in this tier two is where it is expected that even a more close conversation with a given SME that has formulated the question will take place. And if at any given point there might be a situation where the labs or ambassadors with their knowledge are they find themselves not capable to solve completely the questions that have been formulated, they will be able to escalate this to the next tier, which is handled by the i4Trust core partners. And here is where, so essentially, bottom line, the idea is to have a schema where DIHs will be always supported. We, of course, expect that with the time, those DIHs will become more and more experts and will be able to, let's say, feel as self-sufficient to answer many questions that may be formulated. But there will be always these tier three covered by the i4Trust core partners to make sure that at the end there are no questions that get not solved. So that is how the multi-tier support will work, and DIHs joining the fireware, the i4Trust community are expected to um, play an active role in such multi-tier support system. And what comes next is description of the open calls that we have put in place, and in particular the second open call that is currently active, because we thought in this session about DIH onboarding, it was important to give you some also insights about the open calls, because DIHs, as we have mentioned several times, are expected to play a very active role in recruiting and helping to set up the consortiums that might be targeting the open call. And well, don't forget, it's an opportunity also for you, since within the consortiums submitting to the i4Trust open call, it is expected that the DIs are involved. So i4Trust open calls in numbers, talking about the whole program, and there has been already a first open call that was in place, but in total there were 2 open calls, 32 bottom-up experiments is what is expected to be funded. There has been 3.2 million equity-free funding available, and whenever and for all experiments that are funded, there will be a 9 months period where they will be mentored up to be able to create a working prototype of how they can solve a particular challenge using i4Trust building blocks and data spaces they will create with such building blocks. Um, what are the candidate consortiums that we are targeting through the open calls, and of course the second open call as well. They are consortiums that should involve at least one DIH and at least 3 SMEs, but ideally 5 SMEs. And based on results of the first open call, this is, let's say, the average when we are considering an experiment that means creation of a data space for data sharing. Um, when we talk about DIH, and if you are not that familiar with the concept, these are digital innovation hubs as defined by the European Commission. We accept that at the time submission an application is submitted, those DIHs will be either fully operational and therefore listed in the S3 catalog of the European Commission, or if not, are in the process of becoming, let's say, registered as such in that catalog. So it's very important if you are a digital innovation hub, but you are not in this catalog, take a look. But because it would be important that not at the time when you apply, but before, if you get selected before the signature of the subgrant agreement, you should become fully operational and listed in the S3 catalog. SMEs or slightly bigger companies, here you find a very high level description of what we mean by SMEs or slightly bigger companies, but in the website where there is listed all the information how to apply, and particularly the guideline for applicants, you will have a link. You will find a link to a document that has been published by the Commission with all the details of what it means to be, or what need to be met as requirements to be considered a SME or a slightly bigger company. In the open call, that is this user guide to the SME definition that I was referring to. A link to this document, as I said, can be found in the guidelines for applicants. And SMEs and slightly bigger companies can be from any of the member states or associated countries. So in total, up to 44 countries in total. So quite a wide opportunity here. And consortiums do not need to have members of all its members link it to one country. Right, the contrary, we really will consider and will be escorted with preference those consortiums that involve companies and DIHs from different countries. What constitutes a suitable experiment? Regarding the team, I have already mentioned. An important question to mention is that at a minimum there should be one DIH, but there might be several, and you as a DIH can be applying in multiple consortiums, and furthermore, you may get funded in more than one experiment. There is only a limitation of 40,000 euros in total, considering all the experiments where you might be involved as a DIH supporting the experiment. Um, the the question to solve, the challenge to solve, is quite open. So is more about bringing a good story about a problem that could be solved, a process that could be improved by means of data sharing, but there is no, let's say, domains that are prioritized over the others. Requirements to for these experiments to be met is, of course, you have to make use of the i4Trust building blocks, technology building blocks. You will, during this week, we have been going through all the different components. So you have been learning what is the kind of technologies and how they could be used for setting up the environments that experiments will be using for solving the challenges. And experiments to be proposed should be at the moment of submission in a technology readiness level between level 3 and level 8. Um, well, we will be working, the core partners of i4Trust, um, uh, very intensively during the coming months, July, August, and beginning of September. The deadline for the second open call is 12th of September, and we are really looking for working with DIHs like you in scouting experiments and helping to hunt those most promising that could apply to the open call. For applying very easily, you can connect to the i4Trust website, and there you will find straight away a link to the portal, the specific portal for the open call, where you will find all the necessary information, starting for a very key document like it is the guideline for applicants. So and to finish, this is a process that will close in September. The deadline again is September 12th. Then during September, October, we will be carrying out the evaluation process, and during November, and which will end up with a selection of a number of experiments, which during November, December, we expect that will be uh, uh, go through the process of financial validation, legal validation, and up to the actual signature of the contract, the subgrant agreement that will give the opportunity for them to get funded and receive the mentoring, which is what Rajiv is going to elaborate now in the following slides. Once this signature process is finished, we will be able to start the experimentation, the mentoring phase, which will last 9 months, covering from January to September 2023. Again, just as kind of a recap, um, check the i4Trust community space to learn more about the um, open call and read announcements related to that open call. Check the guidelines for applicants that will be available in the website, same as a frequently asked question document. And last but not least, you will have also this mailing list, mail inbox, where you can formulate any question that might be specific to the open call. That should be questions different than the more technical questions or general questions about i4Trust, which we encourage you to formulate through the i4Trust community space. I think that's it. And now I will be giving back the floor to Rajib to continue giving you more details about the mentoring program where we support experiments and the last slides of this presentation. So Rajib, when you are ready.
Yes, thanks, Joando. I will share my screen. Let me put it in the presentation mode. Okay, so as Joando already explained the process of the open call, and the last phase, of course, is once the projects are selected, 9-month customized mentoring program is provided by i4Trust core partners to make sure that your implementation journey is as smooth as possible. So let's take a look at what your role as a DIH is in supporting experiments and also learn about the mentoring program in general. So, well, like the journey of DIH, we also have journey for SMEs, relatively short, but it is similar to a bit on the extent that the first phase is, of course, discovery. So, as already explained by Joanjo, that we do scouting of projects or we try to engage with SMEs ourselves as well. But we also seek your support as DH to engage with SMEs in your own networks, and try to bring the knowledge of i4Trust to them and see if their solution, i4Trust could be a solution for their challenges. Um, in that phase, of course, once you have discovered that yes, there is a relevant challenge which can be fulfilled using i4Trust building blocks, you participate together um, with the SMEs by forming a consortium and applying under the open call, and you apply under the open call, and then once you are selected, you go into the implement phase, um, which is basically where the whole mentoring program is all about. And while you are in the mentoring phase, the last part of the mentoring phase also deals with the sustainability aspects of your project. So we also guide you also in that aspect towards the sustainability of your use case or business case. So in order to make sure that you can continue your journey uh, uh, after the successful implementation of hypertrust building blocks. So let's take a bit closer look at what mentoring program looks like. Essentially, it can be said that it is divided into three phases, but we are all living in agile world, so these three phases can, of course, run in parallel or they overlap each other. But the idea is that the first phase is onboarding, where based on the proposal, you further elaborate on your functional and technical scope and create high level design using trust building blocks of the use case that you are working on. Then followed by the use case plan phase, where you elaborate in detail by creation of backlog of items that you will implement during the next part of the phase, and you prioritize the backlog, such that you first take all the necessary activities which are needed to in order for you to create an MVP, and you also overall create an implementation plan, so to make sure that you can, what scope you have defined is something realistically achievable within this 9 months period, right? And then followed by the proof of concept. This is where you are actually developing your prototype or MVP into phases basically, and you are developing it and testing it and doing all the conformance checks. learning and improving on what works for you and what doesn't work. And in the end, the output is your use case solution, which is working, which you can use and go to the market with. There is additional phase of aftercare, which more or less relates to the sustainability aspects. So once you have proven and once you have identified the solution as something which is relevant for you, and using i4Trust, you prove that it is something which makes sense for you. Then you also want to continue building on top of it by adding more use cases, or bringing that to production and use that in the data space. So once it's more on the because under this program you will start creation of data space, but you need to also continue that journey and maintain that data space so the other participants could also join. And these all aspects are covered under aftercare, which you can already plan in your sustainability aspects in the mentoring program, and you can already predict and request for any aftercare that you would need after the phase of the project. So these on the left, you see this is what we see the consortiums of SMEs doing it, and on the right is what we will provide at the same time in parallel the support. So in the beginning, that's in the first phase, you will see that when the projects are selected, you are joining us at a welcome event, and where you will learn which mentors are allocated to you. Each project is assigned essentially two mentors, primary and secondary, so that you will always have one mentor to work with at least, and ideally both mentors are joining all the calls that you may have with them. And the very beginning of the mentorship program, you create an individual mentoring plan, which defines what you are doing. It includes different elements of the project, including the deliverables, KPIs, the schedule of your project. Also, it is a document where you can create the initial plan and keep on updating as you go along. So it's sort of a living document, but the first version is created in the very first month of the mentoring program. Then, while you are doing your use case planning, we also think that it's a time that you can also explore synergies with different experiments that are together with you in the open call, and networking with them. Also, we'll try to bridge in external parties from our own ecosystems, especially from partners of Fiverr, iShare, and Funding Box, uh, who are not part of your consortiums or not part of your experiments, but we try to bring you all in under the cross value chain bootcamp. We just finished the cross value chain bootcamp yesterday for the first open call mentor program, where of course the projects meet with each other, network, and try to find synergies for also uh, not to use within the same project, but also to see what possibilities are there for the next phase or sustainability perspective, or how they can expand their own use cases, or provide services to others that may be relevant. So, and of course, then towards the end, we also provide you with a fundraising bootcamp, which is essential part of sustainability aspect, because we understand that in order for you to sustain, you need to plan for new activities, and for that probably you also need funding. So in the fundraising bootcamp, there you have opportunity to learn about additional funding sources, like open calls, but also like there will be also VCs and investors, if to whom you can pitch your use case or business case, and if they like it, then you can also have a conversation with them if something meaningful can be achieved together. um, and of course, focusing on how you will sustain this project beyond the scope of what is being delivered in the 9 months program. So in summary, the 9 months program helps you during the implementation. We also help you to reskill or upskill your workforce. So like the current training session, of course, these are all available as recordings, but we also conduct more training sessions like these, which you can join live and ask us direct questions on those. So there will be more training sessions in near future. We bring the most robust and mature and proven i4Trust building blocks, which helps you to get started by creation of data spaces and data driven solutions for your organizations. We support you with legal, operational, technical, business, ethical mentorship or guidance, basically, that you need in your projects. And of course, last but not least, most important, we also provide you with the funding, as already explained by Juando. Um, as I briefly explained to you, that each project is, once it is selected and they start with the mentoring program, we allocate two mentors for each project, primary and secondary, and they are basically your primary point of contact for i4Trust core partners. They host regular activities with you, and they rely on, of course, pool of experts that we have in i4Trust. So when they are not able to answer your question themselves, they can bring in experts to help you with. And on the right, you see basically the toolkit that they have. Of course, this is not an exhaustive list, but some examples to give you. Like, they can arrange workshops, they can arrange topic specific meetings with the experts on the challenges that your project is facing, and they can be on architecture level, in business level, and legal level, or sustainability, or strategic ethics, whatnot. So they come with this toolkit to you, and you can ask for any kind of support that you would need. A quick look at individual mentoring plan. Basically, this is a draft of a table of contents. Of course, this is for the second open call participants. The final template will be shared with them closer to the beginning of the project. Um, uh, but essentially, it covers all the elements of the project, like your description of your project, the architecture, the participants and their roles, the classes of the digital twins, the schedule or the plan of your project, the KPIs and the deliverables, and the budget aspects of your project, basically. And that is essentially what I wanted to share about mentoring program. And of course, now I will towards the end, I'm summarizing two aspects on the screen. Now you can see all the resources that we make available. Most important for all the DIHs, that we have a DIH onboarding kit, uh, which explains all these aspects that me and Joanjo just explained to you in this session. But it includes elaborate details in the document. So when you join i4Trust community, you should receive an onboarding kit, which is sort of acting as your guide in the i4Trust journey. And there are additional resources that I've listed there, which help you in various pointing to the various resources that we make available in general for everyone, but also for you as DIH specifically. And in overall summary, you can see that how we place i4Trust community and the various channels that we provide, and how the multi-tier support and everything fits in this one beautiful picture. Um, on the bottom, you see the multi-tier support system, also vertically with the self-help, which is driven by all the channels that we have. We also have the help desk community, which is directly linked to your support system. You join also the DH working group, which is dedicated group for all the DHs in i4Trust, where you can specifically talk on DI specific topics about i4Trust. And of course, there we communicate to you about the announcements, events, marketing materials. We provide you with that, and we answer all your questions. We also have the working groups and the support groups. On the left, you can see all providing or trying to support all projects in DIHs as well. And that is it from my side today. Thank you all for joining. I wish you a pleasant day. And of course, now it's uh, the session is open for questions. If you may have, feel free to either type them in the chat or raise your hand so we can invite you on stage. No, no questions. Probably we are very good in explaining everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
if there are no further questions, perhaps we can close, and simply a reminder that there are all the information available on the i4Trust website that we encourage you to take a look. There is quite wide and comprehensive set of materials, and starting also with the information about the i4Trust Open Call, which is a particularly interesting opportunity that is in front of us, and we hope you will find also interesting on your side. Thank you very much, and
yeah,
yeah,
everyone.
have a nice weekend.